Shabbat shalom, everyone. It is good to be back. Well, as a little disclaimer before we get started, for those of you who don't know, my entire family had COVID for 10 days straight, and rough COVID at that, so if I need to catch my breath a little bit, I was told that I will still be having that for a while to come. But it's good to be together, and the wisdom and coffeeers, please make your way in. It is good to see you, and I hope you had wonderful learning this morning. In 2006, director Davis Guggenheim came out with a documentary film that made a huge impact on American culture. Now, we can argue that if the impact was a positive impact or a negative impact, but there is no denying that it was a defining part of the zeitgeist, and that it would probably be fair to say that it still is. The film received all kinds of accolades and also all kinds of critiques and criticisms. And there's a ton to unpack for the content itself, but for the purpose of our conversation this morning, I'm more interested in something that the film absolutely nails, objectively. Whether you love it or hate it, I think we can all agree that they nailed the title. An Inconvenient Truth. It's such a good title. And I think I love the title so much because to me it is a reflection on so much of life. Not just issues about climate change or other issues that become politicized, but life in general. And as you can probably see where I'm going with this, Jewish life in particular. In fact, I would propose that it would be an appropriate subheader for almost any aspect of our text and tradition. The Torah, an inconvenient truth. The Jewish diaspora, an inconvenient truth. Jewish identity in contemporary America, an inconvenient truth. So much of what we see and what we learn in Jewish life, in Jewish learning and Jewish practice, is beautiful and powerful. And in its truth, pretty darn inconvenient. Mrs. Baruch back there and I have a shared love for a Yiddish expression that I've talked about from the Bima before, which is, es ist schwer zu sein a Yid. Right, Mrs. Baruch? It's hard to be a Jew. Es ist schwer zu sein a Yid. That's how the Yiddish expression goes, but probably more accurate is to say that es ist inconvenient zu sein a Yid. It is inconvenient to be a Jew. That to be a Jew comes with some inconvenient truths. And we see it everywhere. The creation story. The creation story in Bereshit is gorgeous. It's poetic. We are shaped from the earth and we are shaped from one another to exist in a garden of paradise. And we are also created so that we can continue to assist Hashem, so we can continue to assist God in the process of creation. We don't get to just be. We don't get to just exist in paradise. We have to work. We have to put a broken world back together. It is an inconvenient truth of our origin story, of our purpose. In our Exodus story, we are freed from bondage and oppression, led through the split waters of the Yam Suf, and promised a journey to a land flowing with milk and honey. And the stipulation of that promise is that we go and serve God, that we sign on to 613 commandments and forever bind ourselves to our tribe and to its collective ethos, which sometimes can be inconvenient. I could go on, but you understand my point. That a fundamental part of who we are is an asterisk to our communal identity, reminding us that things are a little bit more complicated and a little tougher than we'd like for them to be. Our existence to this world can often be an inconvenient truth. The Joseph story, which we get close to concluding this morning in our Torah reading, is perhaps the most paradigmatic illustration of that entire existence, our existence as Jews. Joseph's dreams get him into trouble. They get him nearly killed, exiled, cast out from his land and sent into the unknown where more misfortune awaits. Not because of anything sinister or violent or malicious, but because he dreams. Because he has the chutzpah to share his dreams. I think a lot of us are finding ourselves in that Joseph narrative right now, where it feels like once again we are ostracized, shunned, and alienated because we have shared our dreams. We had the chutzpah to dream of returning to our ancestral homeland and making the desert bloom. We simultaneously had the chutzpah to dream of being accepted and fully integrated citizens of our respective countries outside of that ancestral homeland. Chutzpah. And right now, many of us are feeling like those dreams are quite evidently inconvenient to this world. And that feels bad. It does. It feels like more than just rejection. It feels almost Sisyphean, like we keep rolling the stone up the mountain only for it to roll back down. And to make it worse, we're faced with some inconvenient truths, more inconvenient truths that I think we need to talk about and come to terms with as a people, because it makes this moment even harder still, but we need to talk about them. And I'm going to talk about some of them this morning, so let's prepare ourselves. This isn't going to be great. This isn't going to be a lot of fun, because these are some inconvenient truths. And the first of those inconvenient truths is that firing university presidents isn't going to fix the horrible anti-Semitism on college campuses. It's not. And it might feel good to see Penn's president lose her job for her disastrous testimony, and it was disastrous testimony in front of Congress. But that feeling of justice or accountability is going to be short-lived. I promise. Because the plague of Jew hatred on campus will rage on without Liz McGill. It goes much deeper, and that is an inconvenient truth. And the second inconvenient truth that I think we need to talk about is that this war, this horrible, painful war, isn't going to fix the long-term issues of safety and security for our brothers and sisters in Medinat Yisrael. Even if every last Hamas militant, political leader, or enabler is eliminated, even if Israel helps rebuild the Gaza Strip and turns it into a collaborative Gan Eden of prosperity and development, it's not going to fix everything. And it's not going to fix the increasing brokenness of the region. Those are some inconvenient truths. But, lest you think I'm here this morning just to be sad and cynical, let me dispel that right now and remind all of us, how the story of Joseph ends. Because while it's easy to get stuck in the mire of the inconvenient truths, the message of who we are is so much more profound. Because the paradox of Judaism, the paradox of Jewish existence and peoplehood, is that even when things get hard, even when the rock rolls back down the hill, even when it feels so frustratingly familiar, we are asked, we are commanded to keep dreaming. Even when our dreams have us thrown into the pits, even when our dreams have us cast aside and feeling desperately lonely, it is our dreams that save us. Joseph's dreams force him into a painful and difficult journey, but they also elevate him to a position of reverence, of wisdom, and respect that redeems not him alone, but his entire family, his entire people, and generations of ancestors to follow. And it is our dreams that will do the same for us, as long as we remember them, as long as we don't give up hope, as long as we actively pursue the magic, the audacity, the chutzpah, the grandeur of our dreams, rather than getting caught in the facade of justice that comes with short-lived victories or feelings of retribution. Because those aren't going to save us. They won't. You are going to save us. We are going to save us. Not by convincing the world that we are victims, but by showing the world that we are dreamers, even when our dreams are inconvenient to them. We are going to save us by staying true to who we are, by never settling for a status quo, and by fighting day in and day out to get that rock up that mountain no matter what. That is how we save us. By simply being who we've always been. Proud and dedicated and full of hope. Full of dreams. On Shabbat, on Rosh Chodesh, on Yom Tov, we add a psalm to begin Birkat Hamazon, our grace after meals. It's Psalm 126. And you know the tune because we do it every week at lunch, as Saul leads us. Shir Amalo B'shuv Adonai et Shivat Zion Hayinu Kechomim. Which translates to Shir Hamalot, a song of ascents, that when Hashem redeemed us from captive and returned us to Zion, Hayinu Kechomim, we were like dreamers. It's my favorite line in all of our sacred text, because it is the other side of the paradox. While there is so much of who we are that is inconveniently true, the dreams make it all worth it. Every bit of it. So this Shabbat morning, as we recognize some of our inconvenient truths, I pray that we don't spend too long on them, because there is other work to be done. There are mitzvahs to do. There is kindness and love and generosity and compassion to give, and there is hope to build. Because even when it feels hard, we must remember who we are, and we are dreamers. Shabbat Shalom.